Business Honoring Spirituality. And this morning we had an amazing speaker come to us and a webinar.
Great morning here at BHS, and I intend to be back soon.
Welcome all of us to BHS, and especially to those that are first attendees. We start with a brief prayer. My name is practitioner Joanne Lewis, and we just breathe in this moment that light of peace, harmony, love. We center ourselves for the presentation of Reverend Simon's topic on shadow and light. We pray in all of our loved ones, all those that have crossed over to the spiritual realm of light and love. We invite our friends, our colleagues, our co-workers, our four-legged friends as well. And we breathe in the joy and the peace of spirit. We release all those things that crowd our minds. We release those things that our mind creates as stumbling blocks. We let that all go. We are able to take this moment and in this hour enhance our vision, enhance our livelihood, our relationships, knowing that God is all there is. And we also connect with other like-minded beings in terms of raising up and supporting each other, networking, contributing our life energies. So we know that in this moment, we are all one in spirit. And we open our hearts and open up our minds to new teachings, new perceptions. We open up to the creative energy that is us. And we release all that no longer serves us, enhancing our businesses, enhancing our personal lives, and lifting up our planet in this place of peace and harmony and in love. And I know that Reverend Simon's talk today is that of joy and of light and embracing the shadow self with love and compassion enhances our well-being. So we release this prayer knowing with great gratitude, it is with great joy that as these words are spoken, it's already done. And so it is.
Thank you for that beautiful prayer, Joanne. Really appreciate you being our prayer practitioner for our business networking group this morning. I'll see you in the Zoom call after Simon's presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And my name's Anthony Pritchard. I'm the moderator and conducting or moderating the broadcast today. So please forgive me for looking down or not engaging while I'm pulling the strings. BHS is a business networking group that has been gathering in the same place for 40 plus years. It's the longest running business networking group in Denver. And we think it's because we focus on what's important, which is coming together and connecting. and investing in our own personal and professional development. And so we invite some of the best speakers in the world who happen to live here in Denver or wherever they may be now that we're on the virtual platform to come and provide this insight and this wisdom, this research and development that they've done that can assist us in our everyday activities as entrepreneurs. And so our mission is to empower business professionals to be successful through education, connection, and spiritual principles. Today, our speaker comes to us from the epicenter of the New Thought movement. He's a resident minister at Mile High Church in Lakewood, Colorado. Simon Shadowlight is an associate minister at Mile High Church. His areas of focus include social uplift, interfaith ministry, sustainable living, online ministry, guests and new members. His current ministerial interests lie in the areas of shadow work, compassionate communication, social uplift, and climate change. I've also noticed that his interest lies in gardening this time of year. Simon previously worked in the pharmaceutical industry as a corporate trainer. He holds a master's degree in consciousness studies and a master's degree in online education. Simon has been married for over 20 years and lives with 2 teenagers. Thus, he has plenty of opportunity to practice compassion, patience, forgiveness, and surrender. Please help me welcome your guest speaker today, Reverend Simon Shadowlight.
Thank you, Anthony. I appreciate it. I like that, dude. The epicenter of new thought. That's good. I like it.
I think so.
And, I want to say good morning to all of you who are watching. It is my honor and my privilege to be here and present some of this material around embracing one's shadow today. So let's dive right in. We've got a ton of stuff that I want to share with you. So let's just get in and let's talk first about a few ground rules. Okay, so I'm going to share some concepts with you today in a as abbreviated format as I can. I've taught this class or a class with this material a number of times, and we'll take weeks to go over this and give people time to process and work with the concepts. What we're going to do today is I'm going to share a bunch of concepts with you, and then we're going to have some time towards the end of the presentation where you will need something to write with and something to write on. And I want to run you through a quick process so that you have a sense of how to work with this material in your life. And you can take something with you that you can continue to work on and develop and dig deeper. But a few ground rules. What we're going to be doing is a process. It's not therapy. It's not about fixing anyone. It's not about me telling you you're right or wrong or how you're supposed to be. And after the presentation, after you work through the process, we'll go into an interactive Zoom room. Anthony will make the link available to you, and you'll have an opportunity to share what you came up with. I want to stress a couple of things that when we're working together, when we're sharing together, your job is to simply listen to another. It's to be a high witness for them and let them share whatever they're comfortable with. So what is said in the Zoom room stays in the Zoom room. We honor that confidentiality to provide a sense of safety for each other. You're more than welcome to share with others your experience, but not sharing what other people have shared with you. And to that end, you are at choice for how deep you want to share. I don't want the idea that you will be sharing to in any way interrupt the process. If you're not in a place this morning to share, and when it comes to your turn, you say, you know what, gang, I'm just going to pass. I'm just going to hold consciousness and love you all up while I listen to you. That is okay. So let's move on. Let's talk about, well, what the heck is the shadow? Well, the shadow represents those aspects of self which we have, for one reason or another, disowned, repressed, failed, or refused to recognize and acknowledge in ourselves. It's a term that was coined by Swiss psychologist Carl Jung. He was born in 1875, and Jung founded analytical psychology, the school of analytical psychology. He worked a lot, he did a lot of advancing the work of introvert and extrovert personalities, did an amazing amount of work with archetypes and the power hidden within the unconscious. And generally, he's the one credited with using the term shadow in this way. Here's this quote that I really like. Modern man, say modern person, modern people, must discover a deeper source of their own spiritual life. To do this, one is obliged to struggle with evil, to confront one's shadow, to integrate the devil. There is no other choice. And I have found this idea, especially as a new thought minister, where we tend to focus on the positive, I have found this really, really powerful. Because as Jung said, there is a tendency, particularly within Western culture, to strive for the light, strive for the good, the beautiful, all these qualities that we desire to be more like and desire to embody. And that's especially true in New Thought. And likewise, we tend to avoid the dark, the bad, the ugly, however we determine and judge that. All of those things that make us uncomfortable, all of those things that we or someone else has deemed unworthy and unacceptable. So here's how I like to think about it. We are on our journey of awakening as spiritual beings, on our journey towards enlightenment, or deepening into who we really are, expressing our inner truth. It's like we are heading into the light. Well, just like on this slide here, when you're walking into the light, when you're facing the light, you tend to cast a shadow behind you. And in this illustration, in this metaphor, the shadow represents those things that, again, as I mentioned, you, for whatever reason, just have not accepted or acknowledged within yourself. And in essence, again, using this analogy, our job as we awaken, as we do our spiritual work, is like polishing ourselves, becoming, integrating those aspects of ourself to truly become whole. And as we polish ourselves, we become clear like crystal, so that the light enters us, emanates from us, and we cast no more shadow, because we have truly embraced all that we are. Now, that's not to say, it's not to buy into the whole idea that the shadow is negative and we have to get rid of it. That's part of what led us to the problem, right? We don't want to accept these things, so we disown them. No, we have to acknowledge and integrate them. But here's the deal. The shadow, what we call the shadow, is unconscious. And I share this slide with you, this image that has probably been overused. I'm sure we've all seen it before. It's a masterful digital creation. But it just is it does such a good job, in my opinion, at representing this idea of that which is conscious, the part above the water, and that which is unconscious. And this is a huge part of what we work with in religious science. If you know us, or if you're connected with BHS through religious science, and I assume most of you are, we have the objective mind, what we would call the conscious mind, and what Holmes called the subjective mind, or the subconscious mind, that which is below consciousness. So I want to be clear, when we talk about this work, we're not talking, the shadow is not synonymous with those aspects of self that you just don't like, that you should do better. Like, I know I should exercise more, okay? I know I should, and I kind of resist it. That's not my shadow. I know that. I'm conscious of that. The shadow represents those aspects that we have repressed, denied, disowned so well over perhaps many years of our life, maybe originating back when we were very young, that we literally are not conscious of them. Well, here's the thing. If they're unconscious, truly unconscious, then how the heck do we work with them? Because really, I can only work with, I don't want to say only, but we tend to be able to work best with that which we have made conscious. Well, Dr. Ernest Holmes, here's how he addressed it. He said, look, if you want to know the contents of the subjective mind or the subconscious mind, look at the world you have created. Look at the world you've drawn towards you, that you've attracted, that you've embraced, that you've allowed, that you've accepted. That world mirrors back to you what is with it, what the seeds in essence that you have planted and that you're really working with. Which brings us to how we work with this. The world is our mirror. The divine spirit, God, whatever words you want to use, higher self, has beautifully provided us a tool that we can work with this stuff. The world is our mirror. The world makes conscious for us what we would otherwise not be conscious of. We will attract those people and situations that serve for us as a mirror for what others can see often, but what we cannot see or what we refuse to see. Life will continue to reflect back to us what we are. If you don't like what you're seeing, if you don't like what you're experiencing, don't change it. Change you. Okay, so I want to step back just a little bit before we get specifically into the process and say, but why? Why bother? Why should I spend my time with this? I mean, why not just repress this stuff? Why not just get it out the plate? I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with these uncomfortable feelings, these uncomfortable situations. So why bother at all? Well, let me give you 4 images that might help motivate you, might communicate the why to you. Have you ever tried to push a beach ball down under the water, like in a swimming pool? It takes a tremendous amount of energy to keep that ball suppressed, to keep it repressed, to keep it underneath the surface of the water, to keep it, in essence, in the unconscious. It will tend to push back with an equal amount of force. And the more you push down and the harder the more it pushes back. And you have to maintain that energy all the time. Physical energy, emotional energy, mental energy, because we're working with unconscious energies, in essence. You may not be aware of it. You may not have a sense of the struggle, but I guarantee you, if you are repressing a lot of stuff, your energy is being drained off. So we want to free up some of that energy and make it available for our other creative pursuits. Also, you cannot be fully whole if there are aspects of yourself you are not accepting and not acknowledging. If we truly strive for wholeness, which is our divine truth, which is our divine birthright, then we got to do the work of acknowledging the whole of us. We are not free until we fully do this work, until we fully engage with this work. If we, on any level, are having to go about our life pretending not to be who we are on some level, hiding aspects of the self, repressing aspects of the self, then we, in essence, are chained. We are behind bars. We are in a prison. Doing this work opens the doors and allows us into a greater sense of freedom. And there is treasure hidden. There is gold. There are riches hidden in the stuff we have repressed. Let me give you a real simple example. Let's say growing up, I was given the message that, hey, Simon, be seen, not heard. right? Don't make a lot of noise. Don't draw a lot of attention to yourself, because that's just being selfish, so just keep your mouth shut, do your business, and, let others do the talking. And let's say I've integrated that. And let's say because of that belief, and of course I wanted to be loved and accepted by the individuals who were giving me that message, I repressed that desire to use my voice, that desire to be, outspoken and gregarious and really show up loud. I've repressed it because it was uncomfortable, because I associated with not being loved. So when I do this work, when I come to that realization, when I free that up, that doesn't mean I'm going to become a selfish, obnoxious jerk, hopefully. But it does mean I may have found my voice, and I may go, wow, you know what? I do have something to say. There are times, yes, when I want to listen, and there's times when I want to be heard. So we look for those gems. We free up that gold. Now, I do want to say something here. This is an important point. It is not just about, the shadow is not just a negative thing, right? I don't want to give you the sense that the shadow is bad stuff, and that's why we've repressed it. There is what is called the dark shadow and the light shadow, positive shadow, negative shadow, the shadow and the gold shadow, many different terms for it. But here's the thing. When we talk about the dark shadow, we're talking about, in essence, that which we consider, for whatever reason, unacceptable, unlovable, and shameful. And so we've repressed it because to acknowledge that in ourselves is painful. It's discomforting. We feel shame, we feel guilt, we feel whatever. Likewise, there is a light shadow, and in just a few moments here, we're going to do a process with the light shadow. It's that which we consider unachievable, impossible, or we're not worthy of. And that's where the pain comes in. That's where the discomfort is in. It's the young person who wants to be an artist, wants to be creative, and is told, hey, be realistic. You're never going to make any money doing that. That's unrealistic. That's stupid. You don't have the talent. You don't have what it takes. So be practical and, go out and find a good, sensible job that'll make you money. So then that is painful to acknowledge that, wait a minute, I'm not good enough. I can't do that. I don't have that skill. I don't have. So we repress because we don't want to feel those feelings of discomfort anymore. And now we have shut the door to who knows what could have been, what magnificence. So let's do a little bit of process. We're gonna take a look in the mirror, and I want to read this quote to you. Now, I apologize, I'm reading a slide to you, and I know you can read it yourself, but I just think it's so good. I want to speak it into the room. Every person to whom we react with strong fear, desire, repulsion, or admiration is a twin of our own inner unacknowledged life. We have qualities, both positive and negative, that appear visibly in others, but are invisible in us and to us. Our practice is to be fascinated with those who upset or appeal to us, and to find in them hidden corners of ourselves. That, in a nutshell, is the process and the work we are doing. So let's jump into it. Hope you have something to write with, something to write on. And again, today I think we're going to focus on the light shadow. I'm going to run you through that side of the process. Some of you may have done a process similar to this, but I hope it will have value for you, and you'll get enough that you can do this again and in more depth on your own time. So take a deep breath. Get into that open, receptive place, that open, receptive consciousness. I want you to think of someone you know, either actually know in your life or someone you know of. They could be living, or it could be someone who's made their transition, whatever. But this ideally is someone that you admire. They have qualities that you desire to emulate in yourself. Now, ideally, to make this process the most powerful, there should be an emotional attraction to this, right? We want to find someone who affects us, not just informs us. So whenever we do this work, we're really looking for the person who brings an emotional reaction to us, and the stronger, the better. Not just someone that intellectually we identify with one way or the other. So this might be someone that you have thought of and said, man, I wish I could be like them. But you know what? There is no way. They are so far above me. They are, I want you to stretch here. Someone that you would love to be like in some way, and maybe you have told yourself, there's just no way. They are too far and beyond me. Let that individual come into your consciousness. Whoever pops in first is probably the person you're meant to work with today. Okay, I'll give you just a couple of seconds here. And again, you can come back to this if you can do this time and time again. So hopefully you all have someone by now. And what I want you to do as you think about them, I want you to the best of your ability, connect with what you're feeling. Connect to the admiration you have, what draws you to them, the passion, the whatever it is that comes up for you. And as good as you're able to, narrow it down to one word or just a small collection of words. What is it about them that you really love? What is it about them that, man, you wish you could be? Again, I'll give you, 30 seconds here just to get in sense, to boil it down to one or a few words. What is it about them that attracts you? All right, hopefully you've gotten something. And I do know we're going through this a little quick, but that's okay. It's okay. Now, there too go I. How does this quality apply to you? Now, here's how we might have to work a couple, with this the second bullet point, describe them, and how does that show up in you? Because if it was obvious how it showed up with you, well, yeah, this is what I admire about them, then it may not be some part that you've disowned. So, or you may have gotten something that you're like, well, gosh, I don't know, that just doesn't apply to me. Like, let's say you came up with someone, the person who popped into your mind that resonated with you was a singer, a really talented singer, and you love them because of their ability to sing. And now we get to this third bullet point, and you're like, well, wait a minute, how does this quality show up in me? Well, I don't sing, and gosh, Simon, to be honest, I have no interest in singing, so I don't know what you're talking about. Then go back to that second bullet point. Okay, what is it about their singing? What is it about this quality that you've identified in them? Okay, well, wait a minute, let me think. Okay, it's not so much their singing, but it's their passion that they bring to what they do. No. It's their boldness, or maybe it's their honesty. Like when they are singing, oh my God, I feel like they have thrown open the doors to their soul and they are boldly and courageously letting me in. And that's what I love. Okay, so how does that show up in you? Is that what you're truly desiring to emulate? The ability to be authentic, fearless, truly share your passions, that sort of thing. That's where it's almost like a Rubik's Cube when we're doing this work. We kind of twist back and forth and go, okay, does this fit? No, does that fit? And to do this, you're really looking for that feeling. I guarantee you, there'll be a click when you get it. You'll be like, oh my gosh, that's what it is. So because we're going through this quickly, don't be concerned if it's like, well, I think maybe I'm just kind of being at the surface level right now. You can, on your own, this is going to be part of your homework. Play with these two aspects. What do I see in them that I really resonate, that I really love, but maybe I feel is unattainable? How does that have relevancy in my life? How is that showing up in me, or how could it show up in me? Then let's move on to our next step. Well, what stands in the way? So using that example that I gave you of the singer, maybe you've realized, oh man, I love the way that they just fearlessly share who they are in their work. All right. Well, what is standing in the way of you doing that? Oh my God, I could never do that. What if I offended clients? I mean, what if I was vulnerable and that was really uncomfortable for clients? And I value every client I have. I can't afford to be driving clients away. So I can't afford the risk of being that vulnerable. All right. That's one of the things that is potentially standing in your way. And there is your work. How could I, in this example, experiment with being more vulnerable? Maybe there are a few clients that I really trust with, that I have a long-standing relationship, and I could experiment with them. Maybe I could even have a conversation with them. Maybe I could, in my networking with other business professionals, I could reach out to those who have likewise been vulnerable in their work and ask, how did it work out for you? How did you go about becoming more and more vulnerable? Or again, whatever the quality is for you. Now, as we draw towards a conclusion, I do want to make one little point here. The point in integrating the shadow is about authentic acknowledgement. So there's this aspect of integration and release. Especially this often comes up, this distinction often comes up when you're working with the dark shadow, because we're not necessarily saying that you want to become this thing and you need to start acting on it. When we're working with the light shadow, that is often the case. How can I acknowledge and integrate this part in my life? But sometimes it's just, you know what? Now that I've acknowledged it, how can I release it? I don't need to emulate it. I don't need to become a part of it. I don't need to integrate it in my life. I don't need to integrate it into my behavior. I just need to acknowledge it and let it go. All right. So just be aware that there are those two, what I often use the term integration can have those two aspects. One, I'm bringing it into myself and into my life, into my behavior, into my way of being. I'm making it more invisible. I'm embodying it. And at other times, it's just saying, you know what? I acknowledge that. I acknowledge the pain and the discomfort around it. And I'm good. I'm free. I'm ready to let it go. I am ready to set it aside. So here is your homework. And I love this quote that has been attributed to numerous different people. We do not experience the world as it is. We experience the world as we are. So your homework is to do this work, to look for those people who you have an emotional reaction to. They either really piss you off or you really admire them. And start to go through these steps to say, well, what is it about them that really repels me or attracts me? How is that some part of my life, or how would I like it to be, and what stands in the way? That is the work. Now, I really want to thank you for the time we've had there. I believe there will be a link in the chat, in the comment section, that will give you a link to an interactive Zoom meeting. We'll have basically a half an hour where you'll do some work in some small groups, and then we'll have a little opportunity, I believe, for some Q&A. So go ahead and click on that link, and I will see you in that Zoom room. Peace and blessings.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation, Simon. I really am grateful for the time you've given us today on helping us address our shadow self. I've placed the link to our Zoom call in the comments, and it's on the screen. So if you go to zoom.us and type in 464-679-369, or you click on the link in the comments, you'll be taken to our interactive business networking segment of this meeting, where we'll break up into small groups and discuss this subject with one another. And then one person from each small group will bring back our discoveries to the larger group, hopefully thereby exposing you to new people that you've never met before, and expanding your network, which is what business networking is all about. So thanks for joining us. Next week, in 2 weeks, we've got another speaker who will be coming to us on September 3rd. Her name is Leela Veronica, and she will be leading a discussion on vibration activation, how to activate the law of attraction in your business. Leela used to be the marketing director at BHS, but now she lives in Salida, Colorado. So with the technology we have here, she'll be able to join us from her new hometown, and we're excited to learn about it. So thanks again for joining us here. We will see you in the Zoom call, and that is it.